earned their master's at Berkeley, and I was not quite Cal qualified, so to be on the stage is really pretty amazing. I'm so encouraged by hearing how many people on the panels are talking about children when they're talking about solutions to everything that's going on. I have been a middle school teacher for 24 years. I often get a reaction of, oh my God, really? To, oh, that must be so fun. And it's all of those things. It's also incredibly challenging because our kids are changing and they have so many more challenges. And just to be able to serve them is such an honor for me. So I am just kind of going to talk about what I have done. I work with 5th through 8th graders, but I teach a 7th grade service class. That is my absolute favorite. I based it all completely on my experience with service space. So I always give them full credit whenever I'm introducing a new concept to my kids. I'm like, I got this from service space, so there's no copyright infringements or anything. But I was able to, we had a need at our school for an extra enrichment class for the 7th graders, and I had been thinking about, God, I'm 51. I didn't start kind of down this path until about 10 years ago, and if I had just been introduced more to the idea of being able to serve and gratitude at a younger age, that I could have been, maybe had a little more healing more quickly on my journey. And so I'd been thinking about this idea of, oh man, it would be amazing to have a class in 7th grade is like the perfect age for it, because they're old enough to have these incredible conversations, but they're not like, the 8th graders are already on to high school and well into puberty, so you can't really catch them as much. So when it came up, I pitched it to our principal, so I'd really love to teach this class, and then I took it to the board and it got approved. So the biggest thing when I start with the kids on the first day is just asking them, what is service to you? Like, what is giving? What does that mean? And I teach in Marin, I teach in Kentfield. It's a really wealthy district. It's very expensive. So often the results that I will hear, their answers are like, oh, like sitting on the foundation of a charity, and then you do a big fundraiser, and I'm thinking, yes, that's true, but at the same time, it's showing them that exactly what Nipun is saying, like everybody can do something small. I will never, that I can imagine, have $1 million to start my own school, but every day I can show up and I can just love them and honor them and value them, and for me, that's the service that I can give beyond the curriculum. Like, I always feel like if you just get them wanting to come to school, everything else will fall into place. So the way that we start our class, every class when I'm taking roll, and again, I got this from a service-based retreat, is I'll call their name. I have them make eye contact with me. That's the hardest thing for middle schoolers. They look down a lot. I was a middle schooler who looked down a lot. I looked down a lot for a lot of years. So for me, the eye contact thing is so important. So I'll call their name, we make eye contact, I will say, I see you, and they have to say, I'm here. And I tell them that doesn't just mean like, oh, I see that you're in the room and you're not going to be marked tardy, but I really see you, and when they're telling me that they're here, they're not saying, yeah, I'm here, don't mark me tardy, they're saying, I'm ready, I'm present, I'm ready to begin. And then we talk about what are some of the ways that they can serve. They all have to do a service project. And inevitably, when you ask the kids, what do you want to do? I think I'll do a bake sale. And I'm like, okay, I love me a good bake sale. However, we can go beyond that. So we'll start brainstorming these other forms of capital. Rather than trying to do something where we're earning money, can you just do something where you're connecting with the community? And they've come up with amazing ideas. Some of the kids have written just note cards, and they just have a stand on the corner, and they'll say, pick a card, try your luck, or whatever it is, and then the person will pick a card that says, tell me a story from your childhood. And they'll do that, and the next one might say, tell me your favorite knock-knock joke. And that's their service project. And they're always like, wait, that's community service? Yes. It's like you are serving your community. It doesn't mean it has to be something grand or what your preconceived notion of what that is. And I think when we start at the younger ages, when we start talking about climate change, and we start talking about getting away from this whole idea of greed and money and more is better, especially in a place like Marin, it really will start taking root in this next generation. That's what gives me hope every day, because it can sometimes be hopeless. I'm like, are they getting the hook? Okay, so, you know. And so for me, that's what is really so important, so important. And the way that, so we start our day, every day with, I see you, I'm here. And the little way for me to serve, I think for all of us as parents and leaders and teachers and anyone, is role modeling for these kids. It's one thing to say something to them, but it's another thing to experience something with them. So I always try to tell them that. If I make a mistake in class, I own it. I say, wow, I really blew it, you're correct. I don't come from an attitude of, I'm going to tell you how life is. So I realized, you know, probably the first 18 years of my career, I thought I was, you know, it was a lot of ego. It was a lot of, what can I share with you all? And in the past several years, I realized it's about amplifying their voices. And that's really what I've been trying to do. So at the end of the day, when the bell rings, they have to line up every time. I can either give them a high five or a hug. We have to make eye contact again, and I thank them. Sorry. So close to me. I just feel so honored to be in this position with kids. It's a big responsibility, but it's an amazing one. And so I thank them every day when they leave my classroom. And they know that I mean it. It's not just words. And if they look down, I'm like, eyes, you know, until they look up. Because I think that that's where we have to start. Now, we have to start with the kids. And we need to really instill this sense of service within them, but starting with them. So when we talk about inner transformation, is the only way that is going to change things. So thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for seeing me. And thank you.